The first time Lena was accused of something she didn't do, it was over a broken vase. She was 8. Her older sister, Maeve, had knocked it over during one of her signature whirls, arms outstretched, humming some show tune like she was born for a Broadway stage. The vase shattered. Their mother came running. Maeve cried, "It was Lena," and pointed without hesitation. Lena tried to protest, but the decision had already been made. Her punishment was swift: no TV for a week and no dessert. Maeve got extra ice cream that night. At the time, Lena thought it was just bad luck. A one-time thing. She even forgave Maeve. But over the years, it became clear that this was not an isolated event. It was a pattern. Maeve lied. And everyone believed her. Now, at 21, Lena stood in the middle of her parents' living room, holding a manila folder full of printouts, her hands trembling. Snow piled outside the windows. Christmas lights blinked cheerfully. But inside the house, the air was brittle, frozen not by winter, but by betrayal. Her mother stood near the fireplace, arms crossed tightly, fury hardening every muscle in her face. "You've always been jealous of Maeve," she spat, like it was an absolute truth. "This little charade won't change that. Just admit what you did." "I didn't take your money," Lena said, voice steady but low. "I've been sending you $300 every month since August. That's from my paycheck. You can check the transfers. They're all from my account." Her father didn't speak. He just stood by the hallway archway like a statue, stoic, unmoving, unreadable. Maeve sat on the couch, legs tucked under her, golden hair draped over one shoulder like a character in a shampoo commercial. She sniffled softly, a tissue in hand. No tears, Lena noticed. Just enough to look fragile. "This is insane," Lena continued, pulling out one of the printed bank statements. "Look. The routing number is mine. The account name is mine. Why won't you just look?" "Because she already explained everything," her mother snapped, cutting her off. "Maeve told us she was sending the money, and then you," she gestured vaguely, like the very mention of Lena was a burden, "you started asking questions. You wanted credit for something you didn't do. That's not what happened." "Enough," her father barked, finally speaking. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through her like a blade. "Get out, Lena. Now." For a second, the silence was deafening. Maeve dropped her gaze, folding her tissue neatly in half. "Are you serious?" Lena whispered. "You've crossed a line," her mother said, turning away. "And this isn't the first time." "Theft?" Lena choked. "You're throwing me out for theft?" She glanced around the room, the family photos on the wall, the mantelpiece ornaments she'd unpacked just days ago. Every holiday photo had Maeve front and center, beaming like a star. Lena was always at the edge, partially turned, or mid-blink. A perfect metaphor, she thought. She'd always been the extra. "Fine," she whispered. She gathered her folder, her coat, and her bag. Her boots clomped heavily on the hardwood as she left. Behind her, no one followed. Outside, the cold wrapped around her like wet iron. She slid into her beat-up sedan, breath misting in the air, and sat there for a long moment, staring at her parents' front door. The same one she had walked through hundreds of times. The same one where Maeve had once stood, waving goodbye as Lena left for her first job interview in another state, nervous, hopeful, clutching a coffee cup with her resume inside. Her phone buzzed. A message from her dad. "We're cutting off financial support effective immediately. If you want to fix this, return the money and apologize to your sister." Lena stared at the screen until her eyes burned. Fix what? She hadn't taken anything. She had been helping them. Picking up extra shifts at the bookstore, selling her old textbooks, canceling a trip with friends, all to scrape together enough to support her parents during a hard financial patch. They never asked her to. She just did. Because she loved them. And Maeve? She had been the one enjoying weekend getaways, new clothes, spa days. Lena had assumed her sister was being funded by a side job, or a boyfriend. It never occurred to her that Maeve was quietly rerouting Lena's help, claiming it as her own. Until now. Lena's fingers clenched around the steering wheel. And then, suddenly, she saw something. Through the frost-covered window, Maeve stepped out onto the porch. She wasn't crying. She wasn't comforting their parents. She was frantically tapping on her phone, pacing back and forth in her slippers like someone mid-crisis. Not smug. Not victorious. Nervous. Panicked. And when their father stepped outside, Maeve quickly shoved the phone into her coat pocket and smiled like everything was fine. Something's not right. This wasn't just a stolen moment of glory or petty rivalry. Maeve wasn't just covering her tracks. She was hiding something. And Lena had a sinking feeling it was bigger than anyone realized. Back in her small apartment, Lena cranked up the radiator and pulled off her snow-drenched boots. Her roommate, Tasha, peeked out from the kitchen. "How'd it go?" Lena laughed, short, humorless. "I've been cut off. Evicted from the family. Disowned. All the fun stuff." Tasha's face fell. "You showed them the bank records?" "They didn't even look." "Jesus." Lena dropped her bag on the floor and collapsed into the couch. Her limbs felt leaden, her head spinning from anger, heartbreak, and exhaustion. Then her phone buzzed again. A payment notification. $300 withdrawn, transfer to Maeve Jensen. Her mouth went dry. She hadn't authorized it. She hadn't even opened her banking app all day. Lena stared at the message. And then it hit her. Maeve had access to her account. She must have gotten her hands on Lena's login months ago, maybe when she borrowed her laptop just for a minute. Lena had always trusted her, even when things were rocky. But this wasn't just lies. This was theft. Identity theft. And Maeve was still actively pulling money from her. The tremble in Lena's fingers vanished, replaced by a slow, deliberate stillness. Her mind clicked into gear, methodical, cold, focused. She wasn't going to cry. Not anymore. She was going to fight. Lena sat cross-legged on her bed, her laptop warming her legs and her brows furrowed in deep focus. The only sound in the room was the rhythmic tick of her wall clock and the occasional hum of passing cars outside her window. It had been 3 hours since the latest $300 withdrawal hit her account, a transfer to Maeve's name, one she hadn't authorized. That was the final spark. For years, Lena had allowed herself to be sidelined, dismissed, ignored, second-guessed. But not anymore. Maeve had crossed a line, and this time, Lena was going to draw a permanent one in return. First step, freeze the bleeding. Lena opened her banking app and quickly navigated to the security section. She changed her password, set up two-factor authentication, and unlinked all shared devices. Next, she scanned through recent activity. Her stomach tightened. There were other transactions. Small ones, sprinkled over the last 5 months. $40 here, $60 there. All labeled as transfers or online payments. She hadn't noticed them before, but now that she knew what to look for, a pattern emerged. Every few weeks, money vanished. Not large enough to trigger her overdraft, but enough to slowly chip away at her savings. It was like watching termites eat through wood, silent, invisible destruction. "I can't believe she did this," she muttered, more to herself than to Tasha, who was curled up at her desk with a mug of cocoa and wide eyes. "I can," Tasha said simply. "Some people wear masks their whole lives." Lena didn't respond. She was deep into the next step, collecting hard evidence. She downloaded every bank statement from the last 6 months. Cross-referenced the transaction dates with her work schedule, class attendance, and location data. It didn't take long to realize something even more disturbing. Some of the withdrawals had occurred while she was in class. One, in particular, happened during a 3-hour lab, confirmed by an attendance scanner at the front door. And then there were the emails. Lena had a habit of saving confirmation emails, digital receipts, account updates, payment alerts. She'd always been a bit of a digital pack rat. Now it was paying off. She found one email that stood out, a login alert for her bank account from a different IP address, one that matched the neighborhood where Maeve lived in the city's northern suburb. Got you. Over the next few days, Lena built a case like it was a school project. Only this time, the stakes were her future, her name, her family. She called her bank, explained the situation, and reported the fraud. "We'll need to verify your claim with documentation," the representative told her. "I'm already putting together a file," Lena replied. "Most people aren't that prepared." "I'm not most people." She reached out to the credit bureaus next, TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. Placed fraud alerts. Froze her credit. And then checked her score. It had dropped over 120 points since last spring. She stared at the number on her screen in disbelief. She hadn't applied for any new credit in months, yet there were 3 open accounts under her name, all maxed out. One with a department store card. Another from a financial tech company offering quick cash. And the third? A high-limit travel card with multiple charges from, of all places, a luxury hotel and a boutique clothing store. She checked the transaction dates. Every one of them aligned with times Maeve had posted beach selfies and spa photos on her Instagram story. Lena leaned back, the rage burning low and steady in her chest. This wasn't some petty sibling rivalry. This was identity theft. And Maeve had been funding her lifestyle at Lena's expense. Tasha slid onto the bed beside her, glancing at the spreadsheet Lena had compiled. "You're going full Sherlock on this." Lena gave a dry laugh. "Maybe. But Sherlock never had to deal with parents who think the villain's the angel. What are you going to do? I mean, your parents still think you're the bad guy." "I know." Lena stared at her screen. "That's why this needs to be undeniable. It can't just be a he said, she said. It needs to hit like a brick wall." Tasha nodded. "What about her job? Her school?" "She's on a break from university. Said she needed time for mental clarity." Lena's voice dripped with irony. "I think she's been hiding from the consequences. But not for long." The real breakthrough came 2 days later. Lena received a reply from the loyalty program team at a high-end casino Maeve had once bragged about visiting, Crestline Tower. She had posed in front of it in a red dress for New Year's, captioning the photo, "Queen of the Night." Lena had emailed them under the guise of confirming account activity, referencing an open fraud case. To her surprise, someone replied, "Thank you for reaching out. We are currently investigating suspicious activity tied to the loyalty account registered to M. Jensen. We will be forwarding documentation to the authorized legal entity." She blinked. They were already investigating. Her sister had been red flagged. That meant things were worse than she imagined. And maybe, just maybe, the casino had surveillance footage too. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She lay awake staring at the ceiling, going over her next steps. Her parents wouldn't believe her unless they saw the truth in front of their eyes, in full color, undeniable. She needed to orchestrate something bold. Something live. She sat up, turned on her laptop, and started drafting a plan. A digital presentation of every piece of evidence. Password protected. With timelines. Screenshots. Footage. And at the end of it all, an invitation. To meet. In person. Not at home. Not somewhere Maeve could manipulate the setting. But somewhere neutral. And if everything worked? Her parents would finally see. Not just what Maeve had done. But who Lena really was, and always had been. The invitation was simple. A neutral location. A calm tone. A final plea for truth. Lena had sent it the day after finishing her evidence packet, a sleek digital presentation that walked through every transaction, timestamp, and digital footprint Maeve had left behind like breadcrumbs leading straight into a fire. Subject, please. Message. I know you don't believe me. But if you can give me 30 minutes, just 30, you'll see everything. Come to the Glenhurst Public Library. Second floor meeting room. Saturday at 3 p.m. Bring Maeve if you'd like. I welcome it. No yelling. No accusations. Just facts. Lena. She didn't expect a reply. And for a day, none came. Then Friday night, just after midnight, a message from her mother popped up on her lock screen. We'll be there. Saturday arrived cold and gray. The sky was the color of wet ash, and Glenhurst Library looked like something out of an old detective novel. Brick walls, arched windows, and quiet halls echoing with whispers and the turning of pages. Lena had arrived early. Too early. She sat in the glass-walled meeting room on the second floor, her laptop connected to a large TV monitor, a stack of printed reports beside her in a sleek black folder. The room smelled like pine-scented cleaner and old books. A volunteer had offered her water. She declined. She was too wired to drink. 3 o'clock came. Then 3:07. Then the elevator doors pinged open. Her mother stepped in first, scarf wrapped tightly, eyes unreadable. Her father followed, shoulders stiff, his coat still snow-dusted. And behind them, like a specter wearing confidence as a disguise, Maeve. She was dressed casually, sweatshirt, leggings, boots, but her expression was coiled. Like a wolf pretending to be a lamb. They filed in without a word. Lena stood, heart pounding but posture straight. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "We only came to hear you out," her father replied, already skeptical. "That's all I ask." She gestured to the screen, and clicked the first slide. It began with a simple table. Transfers from Lena to parents, documented with bank receipts. Her mother squinted. "This doesn't prove anything. It could be photoshopped." Lena nodded. She'd expected that. She clicked again, revealing cross-referenced statements pulled directly from the bank's secure PDF logs, complete with confirmation numbers, routing info, and timestamps. Next, she displayed her class attendance logs during each of those transfers. Then came Maeve's claim to have made the deposits. Lena showed the emails Maeve had forwarded to their mother, fabricated bank screenshots. Lena had traced one of the images using Google's metadata tool. "Look here," she pointed. "This screenshot Maeve sent you was taken from my bank app. On my phone. She used AirDrop to grab it when I left the room at Thanksgiving." Her mother frowned, lips pressed tight. Her father looked at Maeve. "Is that true?" Maeve didn't answer. She was scanning the room like a trapped animal. Lena pressed on. "Next slide." She dove into the stolen funds. ATM withdrawals linked to her father's card, ones Maeve claimed Lena had made. "Every withdrawal occurred when I was verifiably at school or work," Lena said, her voice calm but unflinching. She presented time-stamped security footage the casino had provided. Then photographs of Maeve at the ATM in question, clear as day, from 3 different angles. Maeve spoke for the first time. "That's not what it looks like." Lena's eyes narrowed. "You're literally holding Dad's card in the footage. I was getting money out for him. He didn't even know it was missing until 2 weeks ago." Maeve folded her arms, turning her head away. But Lena wasn't done. She clicked to the next slide, credit card reports under Lena's name. All opened without her knowledge. All maxed out. All tied to the same email Maeve used for her food delivery accounts. Lena had matched them using a forgotten password reset email Maeve accidentally left open on Lena's laptop months ago. Her father leaned forward, face pale. "You opened credit cards in your sister's name?" Maeve shrugged. "She had good credit. I needed help. You stole her identity." His voice cracked, restrained fury barely contained. Lena continued, laying out the final piece, a video from the casino showing Maeve at a high-stakes table, bragging about her big win streak while handing out drinks to strangers. The timestamp matched the day her parents claimed Lena had stolen $2,000 from their savings. And then Lena turned off the slideshow. Silence. It stretched. Uncomfortable. Cold. Maeve shifted again. Her voice came out small this time. "I didn't think it would go this far." Her mother looked sick. "Is that all it was?" Lena asked quietly. "A game?" Maeve didn't answer. Their father looked like someone had punched him in the chest. "Why, Maeve?" "I don't know," she whispered. I kept losing. I thought I'd make it back. I didn't want to ask for help." "So you destroyed your sister's life?" their mother asked, eyes welling. "No. I didn't think she'd notice. She never fights back." Lena met her eyes. "You counted on that." Maeve looked away. After a long silence, her mother finally turned to Lena. We're so sorry. We were so blind." Lena blanked fast. The apology hit harder than she expected. Her father stood and crossed to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We failed you. I just wanted to help," she whispered. "All those months. I wasn't trying to show you up. I was trying to help the family." "I know," her mother said, voice cracking. "I know that now." They left the library quietly. Maeve trailed behind, her usually confident stride replaced with a hesitant shuffle. Outside, snow fell gently. The town was wrapped in winter's hush. For the first time in months, Lena didn't feel buried beneath it. She felt free. That night, she got a text from her father. "We're handling Maeve's debt. She's entering treatment. We're restoring your credit. And we'll help however we can moving forward." Lena didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just smiled, set her phone down, and opened her laptop again. She had a final exam to prepare for. And a future, finally, untangled from her sister's lies. For the first time in weeks, Lena slept without waking up in a cold sweat. No more nightmares of credit alerts, slammed doors, or her sister's smug smile twisting the truth. The day at the library had lifted a weight she didn't even realize she'd been carrying for years. But peace wasn't the same as resolution, and she knew that. The truth had cracked the illusion. Now came the rebuilding. It started the following afternoon. Her mother showed up unexpectedly at Lena's apartment, bundled in a wool coat, hands gripping a paper bag like it was the last piece of dignity she had. "I brought cinnamon rolls," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "The kind you liked when you were little." Lena hesitated for a moment before stepping aside. They sat in silence for several minutes. Lena let the quiet settle before her mother finally spoke again. "We believed what we wanted to," she said slowly. "Not because it made sense, but because it was easier. Maeve. She's always been charming. Convincing." Lena didn't respond right away. She looked down at the plate in front of her, at the familiar swirl of icing. Her mother had always said that food could fix what words couldn't. But this was different. "You didn't even look at my evidence at first," Lena said softly. "You threw me out without a second thought." "I know," her mother said, shame clouding her voice. "That's what keeps me up at night. You were the one helping us, holding us together, and we treated you like a criminal." Lena swallowed hard. "It wasn't just this one time, Mom. It's always been like this. Me trying to prove I mattered while Maeve got away with everything." Tears welled in her mother's eyes. "You're right. And I'm so sorry." There it was. The apology she'd longed for, unfiltered, unforced. It didn't fix everything. But it was a start. That week, her parents got to work on the damage Maeve had caused. They hired a financial advisor to begin repairing Lena's credit. The fraudulent accounts were being disputed, and Lena worked with a credit monitoring service to track recovery. Her bank helped secure her account, and she closed the one Maeve had accessed. A police report was filed, not to press charges, but to officially document the identity theft for the credit bureaus. Lena's father sent daily updates, outlining the progress. For a man who used to struggle to express emotion beyond work performance, this was his version of showing love. "Credit score up 17 points this week," one message read. "Filing for restitution claim with bank tomorrow. Book therapy for all of us. Optional, but I hope you come." Lena read each one with cautious hope. Her family wasn't magically fixed. But for the first time, they were trying. Meanwhile, Maeve had begun attending a 30-day inpatient gambling recovery program 2 cities away. It wasn't court-ordered, but it may as well have been. She had agreed to it only after realizing how close she came to losing everything, and not just money. She hadn't spoken to Lena since the library. Lena wasn't sure if she was ready to. Forgiveness, she was learning, wasn't a light switch. It was a dial, one that turned slowly with time, effort, and honesty. Still, curiosity gnawed at her. On the 12th day of Maeve's program, Lena received a letter. It wasn't handwritten. Maeve had always preferred typing, but it wasn't performative either. "Lena. If I were you, I'd never forgive me. I don't expect you to. But I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not the oops kind. The real kind. I ruined your name. I stole your trust. I used your kindness like an open vault, and I told myself I deserved it. That I was the one struggling. That you were just fine. But you weren't. And I didn't care. Because it was easier to let you carry the weight than admit I'd become the weight. This program is brutal. They make you face yourself, not the version you sell on Instagram. I hate who I see some days. But that's probably good. If we ever talk again, I want to do it as sisters. Not as victim and villain. Until then, thank you. For exposing me. You saved me. Even if I don't deserve it. Maeve." Lena stared at the letter for a long time, unsure how to feel. It was both more than she'd hoped for and far less than what she'd needed. But it was real. That mattered. She tucked it into a file labeled recovery, and left it there. By late January, Lena's credit score had improved enough for her to reapply for student housing. She moved out of the apartment she'd nearly been evicted from and into a co-op near campus. It was nothing fancy, shared kitchen, creaky floors, but it was hers. Her tuition was back on track, thanks to a hardship grant her financial aid officer helped her apply for. She picked up extra tutoring hours to cover books. Bit by bit, her world rebalanced. And she began doing something she hadn't in a long time. Planning for the future. Not just surviving it. One night, while reorganizing her digital files, Lena came across the slideshow presentation from the library meeting, the one that had exposed everything. Her fingers hovered over the delete button. But she didn't press it. Instead, she renamed it. The Turning Point. She wasn't going to keep it as ammunition or a reminder of pain. She was going to keep it as proof. Proof that even when the world told her she was wrong, she had trusted herself enough to uncover the truth. The following Sunday, Lena joined her parents for dinner at the house she once thought she'd never return to. It was quieter now. No music. No drama. Just the clink of silverware and the smell of rosemary chicken. Her mother poured her a glass of wine. To Lena, she said softly, raising her glass. The daughter who saved us, even when we didn't deserve saving. Lena didn't cry. She just smiled. Because this time, the toast was real. And for the first time, so was their family. Spring arrived slowly in Denver. The city shook off winter like an old coat, and the first blush of green began creeping back into the trees that lined campus. Lena walked to class with her earbuds in and her head held high, not just out of pride, but because for once, she didn't feel the weight of shame dragging her gaze to the pavement. Her life hadn't just changed. She had rebuilt it. From the ground up. In her final semester at university, Lena found herself doing something she hadn't done in a long time, dreaming beyond survival. She updated her resume and applied for internships at financial firms she used to believe were out of her league. She joined the Women in Finance Society and even led a workshop on fraud prevention, drawing from her own experience, not the details, but the insight. Sometimes the numbers don't lie, she told a room of wide-eyed students, but the people behind them do. And it's your job to know the difference. The room had nodded. Some had taken notes. A few approached her afterward to ask how she'd stayed so calm. She had smiled and said, "I wasn't calm. I was clear. There's a difference." At home, things were still delicate, but no longer broken. Her father now asked her opinion on household finances. Her mother checked in weekly with updates from Maeve's recovery program. And Lena, in return, gave them space to show their remorse, not through words, but through change. They were learning how to be parents again. And she was learning how to let them try. Then, one Friday evening, a knock on the door of her co-op apartment startled her. She opened it and found Maeve standing there, clutching a single paper bag and wearing an expression that wasn't quite confident, but wasn't defeated either. "I called," Maeve said softly. "But I figured you might not answer." Lena stepped aside without a word. They sat on the small futon by the window, the bag resting between them. Maeve pulled out 2 cartons of sesame noodles, Lena's favorite since they were kids. "I didn't come to pretend I'm fixed," Maeve began. "I'm still figuring out how to live without hiding." Lena nodded slowly. "You look different. I feel different. It's like I had to break every illusion I had about myself. The worst part wasn't facing what I did to you, it was realizing I didn't even know why I started." Lena picked at her noodles. "You always made it look easy. Being the favorite. Being untouchable." Maeve gave a sad smile. "It wasn't easy. It was expected. And when I couldn't live up to it anymore, I started pretending. And when pretending stopped working, I started taking." They were both quiet for a while, the only sound the faint traffic below. Then Maeve reached into her pocket and slid something across the table. "A check. $2,000. I know it doesn't fix the credit cards, or the trust. But it's a start. My therapist said restitution has to be real, not just a concept." Lena didn't touch the check at first. She just looked at it. Then at her sister. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady. "I'll pay back the rest," Maeve said. "Every last cent. And I'll keep showing up. Not as the perfect daughter. Not as the broken one. Just as your sister." Lena exhaled slowly, as if letting go of a breath she'd been holding for years. "Okay," she whispered. "Then let's try again." They ate the rest of their noodles in comfortable silence. A month later, Lena stood in her graduation robes, sunlight catching on the golden honor cords draped over her shoulders. Her name was called, and she crossed the stage to cheers and camera flashes. In the front row sat her parents, beaming. Next to them was Maeve, clapping so hard her bracelet flew off her wrist. Lena grinned, held her diploma high, and for once, felt like the main character in her own story. The week after graduation, she started her internship at a respected finance firm downtown. On her desk sat 2 framed photos, one of her at the podium during the fraud prevention seminar, and another, much older, of her and Maeve as kids, sitting on the living room floor building a puzzle together. The corners were faded. The edges bent. But it was theirs. It was messy. Real. And most importantly, it was healing. Lena didn't erase the pain. She didn't forget what was done to her, or pretend that justice had come easy. But she chose not to carry bitterness into her future. Instead, she carried knowledge, strength, and a story that, while once written in betrayal, now ended with redemption. Because sometimes, the best kind of revenge isn't watching someone fall. It's watching yourself rise, and writing the ending they never saw coming.